everybody. This is Angelica Simpson with my show, Stardust Express. My show is about truth issues, histories, metaphysics, spirituality, health, sacred sites. Tonight, I'm starting with a very interesting video it's a compilation about UK crop circles that have emerged in 2018. Enjoy this video. It's very meditative, very calming. I'm sure you will enjoy it.
Stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden.
I think you have enjoyed this video. I don't even want to go there if they are man-made or not. But if I have never been there, I've never visited crop circles, but if ever I have a chance to go, I will go immediately. I would not miss that opportunity. Right, my second video tonight is Skybound. First one was Earthbound. The next one is, I find, very interesting and you will like it. It's from drones and RC flight. Oh, sorry, it's from Forbidden Knowledge News. And it's called UFOs, Sky and Space Anomalies. Pictures and videos of sky and space anomalies from around the world. It's an awesome video and awesome music. Enjoy. last time I presented to you a video from Thunderbolt's project, and it was called How Old is the Earth and Its Inhabitants? It was part 1. Tonight I'm presenting to you part 2 from the same company, and it's called The Evolution of Life on the Electric Earth. I hope you will enjoy this one as well. Wish you fun with it. Okay.
Welcome to Space News from the Electric Universe, brought to you by the Thunderbolts Project at thunderbolts.info. In part 1 of this presentation, Thunderbolt's colleague Peter Mungo Jupp began a provocative reassessment of the standard geological and anthropological timetables on planet Earth. We have proposed a radically alternative history for planet Earth, and indeed our entire solar system. In relatively recent times, there was a chaotic period in the inner solar system when planets approached one another close enough to exchange electromagnetic energy, taking the form of interplanetary lightning. One of these planets was Earth, whose close encounter with Venus, the Great Comet, was recorded in ancient texts around the world. In this scenario, in an era of prehistory, the Earth was bombarded with tremendous electromagnetic radiation. What effects did this have on our planet and its living organisms?
Most geologists and biologists work from a uniformitarian viewpoint, i.e. that's only small incremental changes in the last thousands of years. One, though, has only to read Claude Schaeffer's works, the archaeologist in the Middle East, to realise that many violent perturbations have occurred within the last few thousand years. We're talking roughly no more than 8,000 years. And if one is to believe historical and many of the myths, as argued by Rens van der Slee, then continent-encompassing floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, and massive electrical phenomena must have played a huge part in altering the carbon-14 isotopes concentration in living species. Also, dead carbon-13 from underground sources in huge volcanic eruptions must also falsify carbon-14 ratios, the concept of dead carbon contamination. Now, before we go on to the atomic clock mitochondrial DNA theory, let's just touch on one of the last archaeological modern science dating technologies: electric spin resonance, uranium thorium, thermoluminescence, and optical stimulated resonance. How accurate are these other methodologies used in establishing chronology? Electric spin resonance and uranium thorium series dating methods are secondary in the sense that they rely on measurements of isotopes and others not originally present in the living body, and the modelling of process taking place after burial. For instance, thermoluminescence and optically stimulated luminescence dating methods are applied to quartz grains in sediments containing skeletal remains, but not directly on the bones. Again, these must be subject to interpretation of the environment at the time of inception. Bryant notes that he found thermoluminescent dating highly inaccurate with echoes of the Gemini affair, which we'll go into. When dating marine deposits, the laboratory result was 20,000 years BP before present. He maintains this cannot be accurate, with the time the shoreline was well out to sea. He also remarks that this technique cannot be considered accurate if the event that initially triggered the zeroing of the quartz particles occur at night. It's light dependent. In this case, it will not start the clock ticking. He also notes serious age reversal effects with carbon dating. We have not always lived in an uniformitarian universe. What happens today may have been, and most probably was, drastically different to our own relatively geologically calm world. These methods too can be subject to gross error without knowing the physical, historical, geological history of the site. Cataclysmic events have often shaped the Earth in only the last few thousand years. Our reliance on scientific dating demands caution. I touched on the Gimium affair, which first declared the site as possibly 170,000 years before present using luminescence dating, but it was eventually found to be only 3,000 years old. Optical luminescence methods are highly subject to contamination, with Bowler from Melbourne University noting in his last studies of Lake Mungo that one lower level came up at a later date than the higher one. Impossible. He declared this was contamination. But there are serious flaws for this method, especially when water has at some stage washed through an area. In addition, it assumes zero crystal attachment when initially exposed to sunlight at its foundation. It depends on how it was formed, and this is hard to assume when the geologist was not there at its inception. Similarly, electron spin and uranium-thorium series methodologies make many assumptions gleaned from our uniformitarian present-day world and make no speculation on conditions evident in the Ice Age where unknown factors were probably at work. For instance, note the discrepancy between Bowler and Thorne's work at Lake Mungo. One came to 40,000 years before present, the other 60,000, a 20,000 year discrepancy. Carbon dating, if it's not standardised with dendrography, which only goes to 8,000 years, cannot be accurate. Remember, we're not doubting the accuracy of mass spectrometry used, only its universal application without time calibration and controls. And finally, we move on to the atomic clock mitochondrial DNA phylogenetic theory. Aha. Is in fact mitochondrial DNA the atomic clock genetic scientists claim it to be? Eukaryote cells, that's mammal and other living cells, contain mitochondria within the plasma of the cell but outside its nucleus. Amongst other functions, they are an energy factory driving the cells. Curiously, they most closely resemble the bacteria Rickettsia and have many similar properties. What has become of great interest is the mitochondria's ability to transport, that's with exceptions, the female line to the next generation. The quality that excites interest is that a certain portion of the genetic chain of the mitochondrial DNA is subject to mutation in what is believed to be a constant rate within any species. Thus, analysis of past generations should reveal the number of generations noted at humans for 20 years per generation, and thus act as an atomic clock to peg the age of the specimen. Recently, an attempt was made to estimate the age of the human race using mitochondrial DNA. This material is inherited always from mother to children only, and there are exceptions, but that's a distraction. By measuring the difference in mitochondrial DNA among many individuals, the age of the common maternal ancestor of humanity was estimated at about 200,000 years. Is this true? A problem is that rates of mutation are not known by direct measurement and are often computed based on assumed evolutionary timescales. Note that, assumed evolutionary timescales. As we have seen in the previous work above, all these age estimates could be greatly in error. In fact, many different rates of mutation are quoted by different biologists. It shouldn't be very hard explicitly to measure the rate of mutation of mitochondrial DNA to get a better estimate on this age. From royal lineages, for example, one could find two individuals whose most recent common maternal ancestor was, say, 1,000 years ago. One could then measure the differences of the mitochondrial DNA of these individuals to find its mutation rate. This scheme is attractive because it does not depend on radiometric dating or other assumptions about evolution or mutation rates. It is possible that in 1,000 years there would be too little difference to measure. At least this would give us some useful information. Now, along this line, Parsons, one of these researchers, has recently done some work to measure explicitly the rate of substitution in the mitochondrial DNA control region. That's a narrow region where a lot of mutation occurs. And I'll read his summary. The rate and pattern of sequence substitutions in the mitochondrial DNA control region is of central importance to studies of human evolution and to forensic identity. Here we report a direct measurement of the intergenerational substitution rate in the human CR. Now, this is a way we can actually find the age. He compared these to what they call phylogenetic analyses that claim the use of mitochondrial DNA to ascertain the age of let's say, a particular Neanderthal, for instance. He found the observed substitution rate reported were very high compared to rates inferred from evolutionary studies, so using so-called mitochondrial DNA, in fact 20 times higher. Using our empirical rate to calibrate the mitochondrial DNA molecular clock would result in an age of this mitochondrial DNA of only 6,500 years, clearly incompatible with the age of modern humans as estimated by evolutionary studies. It remains implausible to explain what known geographic distribution of mitochondrial DNA sequence variation by human migration that occurred only in the last 6,500 years. In fact, the evolutionary molecular clock, as measured by mitochondrial DNA, has a long and troubled history. Hampered by a lack of empirically measured mutation rates, the evolutionary molecular clock researchers have historically assumed mutation rates by dividing two species' genetic differences by their evolutionary time of divergence, e.g. human-chimpanzee divergence, since the latter was inferred from the evolutionary age assignments in the fossil record, which is basically not very well understood. The evolutionary molecular clock amounted to a circle of evolutionary assumptions and never an independent test of a species' time of origin. The advent of modern molecular genetics has resulted in an increasing number of publications in which mutation rates in various species and in various genetic compartments have been empirically determined, independent of the evolutionary age assignments in the so-called fossil record. Using the mitochondrial mutation rates, predictions can now be made on how much mitochondrial DNA diversity should result after a specific number of years have elapsed. These studies represent an important and significant step forward in our understanding of the origin of human mitochondrial DNA differences. Though the mutation rate was measured only in European individuals, predictions with this mutation rate on the 6,000-year timescale captured the mitochondrial DNA diversity in all non-African people groups, including the major Eurasian groups and representatives of the native peoples of the Americas.
So this was my last video for tonight's show. Somebody asked me where I find these videos. I have to say, well, I spend a lot of time on YouTube and check out whatever there is on offer for mysteries, sacred sites, truth issues, like, for example, UFOs or crop circles and these kind of things. And I try to be as discerning as possible to find videos that have really got a message and are really profound and not just repeating the repeat of the repeat. I try to avoid that. But I'm glad that you like my choices. If you feel like it, I would invite you to accompany me to vision work again for tonight. And again, I ask you to give me your comments about this, if you, what you're experiencing, if you have some more questions. I'm very happy to answer those questions then. We spent some time during the last few shows to work with color, to get an idea about color, what color does for our visual system, the influence on color in our society, in your direct environment when you look around. Tonight I want to work in a different way. I want to introduce the concept of near and far. So for example, if you become aware where you are sitting, take your glasses off and take your contact lenses off if you can, and just where you are in your direct environment, maybe on arm's length, look around what you see. Just become aware what is surrounding you. And when you have got a good idea, then I want you to look as far away as you can. And again, over there in the distance, take in whatever you can see. This is not about clarity. You don't have to see anything clearly. Just become aware of the concept of close up and far away or further away. I will give you another story tonight, and even here again, if you have got your eyes closed, the images I'm presenting turn your brain again to an experience of close-up vision as well as far distant vision. And the brain then produces the pathways to the visual system as if it is really happening. You have got your eyes closed, so it's all visually imaginative. But the brain thinks it is really happening, so it has an experience of close up and far distance. All right, then get ready. Make sure that you are sitting comfortably in your chair. Have your eyes closed. And leave your eyes closed all the time, please. This time we are not using your hands to cover your eyes. You're just sitting there with your eyes closed. But we would need your nose again. So you will know what I mean when you listen to the story. Just imagine. You are resting on the side of a green hill in the mountains of Peru. When you breathe in, you inhale the high mountain air. Crystalline, pure air. Paint the lucid blue sky overhead with your largest paintbrush, which is extending on your nose. the grass spreads around you, sprinkled with tiny yellow wildflowers. Sweep through the grass with your paintbrush. Feel the tickling effect of those gleaming flowers. The blades of grass tickle your mind. Your eyes are being released to vibrate. Feel the warm sun on your shoulders. Imagine the plains high in front of you, spreading into the distance. On these plains are ancient formations made of large, weather-worn stones. Trace the edges of these rocks with your nose. The land is flat, giving you an interesting perspective to sketch in with your paintbrush. These huge rocks were placed together without mortar. You trace low-lying walls and roadways. In the distance, far across the plains, lie mountains. Trace the violet mountain peaks. Inhale this expansive distance into your mind. Straight in front of you, extending across the plains, you notice a row of flat rocks illuminated by the sun. These rocks form a straight line into the distance. Trace the rocks outward with your nose. When your nose arrives at the farthest point, draw a counterclockwise circle. Now exhale all the air from your lungs. Inhale fully and let your nose and attention slide back in on the rocky roadway until your chin comes to your chest. Make a circle on the center of your tummy with your nose. Again, exhale and inhale fully. Slide outward again, as before, into the distance. Move slowly and thoroughly. Distance is inside your head. You can imagine distance and you can imagine close. Grow accustomed to enjoying and activating this near and far action. Your eyes will be delighted. With this image of the roadside and the rocky hills and the violet mountain peaks and the plains, the roadways, with all of this in your mind, leave your eyes closed, please, don't open them. Slowly come back into your body. Feel yourself sitting on the chair. Feel your feet on the ground. And when you're ready, then slowly open your eyes. Look around wherever you are, how it feels now to look around. And again, as before we did this imagination, have a look at arm's length, whatever you can see now, and be aware of how it feels, to be fully aware. This is now close up. This is really near, the near point vision. Take it all in. And now turn your attention to the distance like before and become aware what you see now, if there is a difference, if has gotten a little bit better or it's lighter, brighter, whatever it is, whatever you're experiencing. And at the same time, become fully aware, this is no distance. This is now your far vision. And then come back to where you're sitting. Have a look at your hand. With your nose, outline your fingers, like we used to do in school when we had a pencil and outlining our hand. So do the same now with your nose. You don't have to be able to see your hand clearly. Just outline your fingers with your nose. And stop when you have finished. Now turn your attention to the distance. Look at any object that you can see in your vicinity. And it might be a lamp, it might be a window, can be anything. Just quickly outline it with your nose. Again, you don't have to see anything clearly. Just become aware of far away. Okay, now turn your attention back to your close-up vision, to your hand. Have a look at your hand. Your hand might look different. You might become more aware of your fingernails. You might become more aware of the lines on your hand, on your fingers. Your hand might just look more three-dimensional, more real. Anything, just become aware. So in your daily life, it would be a good exercise just to simply become aware whatever you do, like sitting at a table, that you are here, the table is there, this is really close. And you look straight ahead and it might be the window. So over there in the distance is the window. So wherever you are in your life, it's a good thing to do because it brings you always into the present moment. And it's part of what I personally would understand in becoming mindful. So you become mindful with your vision. And again, I'm not talking about 20/20 clarity and so on. This is not the issue at all. Vision is something completely different. Vision is to be able to be part of the world. You're experiencing yourself as being part of the world. And that is completely independent of how many diopter you have got. It's just a visual exercise, just to become aware. I've got a question. Let me just see. Somebody asked me what is smarter, to watch my videos with the vision work one after the other and So doing all the exercises in one row. I would recommend, no, you do one of the exercises or one video per day, and stay with that, whatever is coming up during the day. If it's, you could also do this one video, one exercise I was presenting per week, but you might find it a bit boring or a bit non-inspiring. So I would recommend one video per day to get the best results. And I'm doing this kind of work with people for over 30 years now. I personally was blind, and by doing the exercises I got my vision back. So I know what I'm talking about. And still, although one of my eyes was blind, the other was heavily short-sighted. I don't need glasses at all. I can read without anything. And what I do still every day, a little bit of these exercises. And so simply because I enjoy it and simply because I notice my eyes feel so much better afterwards. I get less headaches, particularly working on computer screens can be very tiring and very achy, and you end up with dry eyes. So I recommend for everybody to do this daily and find out what of the exercises I was introducing, what of the stories I was telling you, introducing nose work, what you personally like best, and combine it for yourself. I will continue doing things and introducing a broad variety. So I hope that helps. Any more questions or any comments? Please let me know. All right, goodbye for today.
Humanity has been on an epic journey of discovery, learning the truth about the world we live in. New discoveries about the true origins of humanity, ancient history, free energy, as well as the systematic corruption of world governments are now on the forefront of our daily reality. Is the world headed towards destruction based on control and power? Or is an opportunity now being presented to shift and uplift into a higher consciousness? My name is Mel V, co-founder and creative director of Conscious Consumer Network, an independent broadcast network that was launched on the 1st of January 2015. In the last 3 years, Conscious Consumer Network has broadcast over 2,800 shows in multiple languages, featuring guests from across the world, whilst creating media that is aimed at the creation of a free, fair, peaceful, just, sustainable world. Conscious Consumer Network provides full training and an interactive support network for all broadcasters, and we are always looking for inspiring and educational content.
Hi, this is Lainey Liberty.
And this is Mira Siegel.
In 2018, Conscious Consumer Network has expanded to multiple broadcast locations, increasing our availability and reach across the world, remaining on the cutting edge of independent media. If we wish to create a better world, we must first create better media, geared towards real education instead of indoctrination.
You guys really are what changing the world is going to be about. It's educating kids at a grassroots level.
Having become a pillar of stability in the turbulent world of independent media, we have even more going on in 2018. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded network, and we rely on all of you to keep us on the air. Show your support for independent media by donating to our 2018 Network Support Fund. Dare to seek a better world. Support independent media.